Is there a situation in this world where we will ever see Mel Gibson return to the role of Max?
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Mr. Miller, this is a massive, massive honor. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
I want to start out talking about the fact that I have been fascinated with the fact that long before you were a director, you were a doctor. You worked in an emergency room. And I'm sort of curious, what are the lessons that you learned in those moments with the patients and the violence that you saw inside these emergency room situations that found themselves in the Mad Max films?
It's only in recent years that I figured out how much having a medical education and working as a doctor influenced my filmmaking on so many levels, not only in terms of the content, but in terms of process. I was drawn to medicine because it's looking at who we are as human beings. You, like a filmmaker, you look at other human beings from every possible point of view. You're looking at people as a whole. You're looking at their organs. You're looking down microscopes at their cells. Sometimes you look at them in autopsies. You look at them in terms of epidemiology and anthropology and so on and so on. Every point of view is important in medicine, and it's exactly the case in filmmaking. And also, you do get exposed to things. You see humans in extremis. You see them whenever all the things that can happen to you in life, including those childbirth and things like that, the wonderful things that happen in life. So you really have to come to terms with what it is as a human when you're dealing through those perspectives. Also, the process is very helpful. How to solve problems under pressure. When I'm doing night shoots, it really reminds me of doing those rotations in emergency when you don't know what's coming through the door. It's 2 a.m. in the morning, and you have to, even though you're tired, and when you're a young doctor, you're often sleep deprived, or a lot of doctors are sleep deprived anyway, and you basically have to think optimally under that pressure. All those things have been very, very helpful in my film.
That is fascinating. Thank you for telling me that. I appreciate that. Whenever you are telling a story within Max's world, but for the most part, I love seeing The Interceptor, we're not seeing Max. Do you have to decide as a storyteller where Max is in any given situation, even if we're not seeing it? Like, if I were to watch this film with you and pause it at any moment, could you tell me where Max is?
Yes.
How is that possible?
Because we can't tell the stories otherwise. It started with Fury Road. Fury Road is a story that's told over 3 days and 2 nights. A lot of it's in real time. There are sequences that go on for 15 minutes and even more that are told in real time. In order to tell that story, in order to understand not only what each character is, each character is, and what gave rise to them, what every prop, every vehicle, every gesture, everything in the movie, everybody working on the film, not only the cast but also the crew and the designer, had to have the backstory. We wrote the backstories for both Furiosa and for Max in the time before we encounter them in Fury Road. Furiosa for the 18 years from when she's 10 to 28, and Max in the year before. So I can tell you how, for instance, the Doof Warrior, how come a blind person can survive the wasteland and all of that? What's his story and how did he do that? We had to know that in order for the actor to play it and so on. So I can definitely tell you where Max is during all of that story. We had to know that. How else can you tell?
I'm going to need some more time for this interview because I'm going to go through every single character and have you walk me through everyone's backstory. Speaking of Max, it feels like these days a lot of actors are returning to play grizzled, older versions of their iconic characters. Is there a situation in this world where we will ever see Mel Gibson return to the role of Max?
There's no story that I have that has an older character like a Harrison Ford or so on. It's not It happened even on Fury Road. At a certain point, it's not like an Unforgiven or one of those movies where it's really an old, burnt-out person coming back one more time. It's very much. I mean, there probably are stories to tell. I don't know what happens to Max when he gets into his 60s or something like that. I haven't even thought of that. I'm much more thinking of the characters around the time. About 40 or 50 years after the wholesale collapse of society, which, let's say, starts next Wednesday, when everything we read in the news and concerns us all happen at once, and then basically the world is, post-apocalyptic and so on. So I haven't really thought about that. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I recently did a rewatch of all 4 films leading up to
you did?
Furiosa.
Yeah.
It wasn't homework. Trust me. It was. I've seen
yeah.
them many times. But it's incredible to watch the journey of the story and both your filmmaking style over the course of 45 years. I know this is a big question, but I was wondering if you could compare your first day on the 79 Mad Max to your last day on Furiosa. The difference in the mood on set, the vibe on set, and also your understanding of filmmaking.
Well, it's huge. It's huge. Not only have I changed, but cinema has changed. The audiences have changed. The way the audience reads cinema and stories has changed. It's always evolving. There's always a cultural evolution. But also the tools. The tools are vastly different. When you had to shoot with celluloid, and every bit of celluloid that goes through has a cost to it. It's very different now, where you can run a camera, and you basically have a computer chip, and you can run the camera for 45 minutes, and there's no stress. Oh, we're going to run out of stock, or we're going to have to stop in order to sort of basically reload the camera. That's just on that simple level. This level of safety, the agility of the camera, the ability to play with sound and stuff is hugely different. In terms of me personally, on the first Mad Max, on the first day, I remember I'd never been on a full movie set before. Not only that, our crew had only shot television. And not only that, Mel Gibson was just out of drama school. So we didn't know what we were doing. It was just all on instinct and preparation. I remember there was a certain, I'll never forget, we had to shoot on a freeway. The first shot was a character, Johnny the Boy, going to a phone. And we didn't have even permission to stop the traffic. I mean, we just simply put people on and we stopped people on the freeway. and we couldn't even use walkie-talkies. We couldn't use, because we were interfering with police frequencies. It was very, very gung-ho, gonzo guerrilla filmmaking. Now the levels of safety and everything are much, much better and things like that. So there was trepidation but excitement on that first day. And the deeper I got into the first film, I got more and more bewildered. Now I know all these years later that bewildering things are always going to happen. Things like on this film, two biggest problems were inclement weather, but we had to adjust. So we look at the weather forecast. You could look at an app and say it's going to rain between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. But in between those times, we can we'll have sun. You can do that now. You couldn't back then. So we go indoors. We out there in the middle of in the locations, we'd have big tents, and the moment it started to rain, we could go in and pick up some shots inside. All that sort of agility is now available to us, so it's much more assured. And I think the safety levels, we see rushes immediately. I mean, you see your dailies immediately. You're watching it live in colour as you're shooting it. And you might have 2 or 3 units, and we might be separated by a few miles, and yet I can see exactly what Guy Norris's second unit is doing. Way, way different. back then, it would take us a week to see our dailies, to have them printed. So it's a world of difference, you know.
I cannot begin to tell you how much I fucking love this interview. This was amazing. They're trying to pull me out here. I was raised on you, sir. I was raised on your films. I have this job and a love of cinema because of the work that you've done. And it's my first time meeting you. And I just want to say thank you so much for everything that you've given us. So seriously, it's a real honor.
Oh, that's
thank you,
fantastic.
Sir. I appreciate
Thank
you,
you.
sir.
All
Thank
the
you.
best, sir.
I appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.